Hi guys, today I'm going to show you my updated wash day routine. So despite being curly for over 3 years, I am constantly updating and tweaking and learning about my hair and what works and doesn't work for it. So the previous wash day video that I did was actually the first ever YouTube video I filmed. I know my sort of hair story video was done before, but that was actually the second. So there was sort of a lot of teething problems with that video I found. So obviously I filmed it in portrait, which obviously I didn't realise you were supposed to not do for YouTube videos. And I think you could sort of tell how nervous and uncomfortable I was with it. So I figured, well, I like to think I've gained a bit of confidence in front of the camera now. So that and the fact that I was still getting used to the Denman brush. So you could see I wasn't quite comfortable and I hadn't quite sussed out how to use it yet. But I've cracked it, I like to think. I've found the perfect spot for it in my routine. So I'm going to share with you guys my brand new updated Wash Day Wednesday routine. So the first part of the new wash day routine is pretty much the same as in the previous video. The only difference this time is I didn't use any leave-in conditioner on the ends of my hair, just purely because I didn't feel like my hair needed it. As you saw, I used the Child's Farm Strawberry and Organic Mint Conditioner to detangle my hair first, which is actually a tip I saw in Cosmo. It's a way of getting the benefits of the conditioner without any of the weight. When I'm rinsing my hair, I use sort of warm to cool water, just because where I colour my hair, I don't want to strip the colour out by using too much hot water. I use the Cantu Cleansing Cream Shampoo to wash my hair, and I only apply a tiny bit because shampoo can be quite drying for curly hair, and I make sure I focus it on the roots only and avoid the ends. So as you saw there, the first part of my wash day routine is actually pretty much the same as in my previous video. It's more the way I brush style that makes it different. So what I'm going to do first is use some of this Boots Curl Cream. I'm not 100% sure what is happening with this at the moment. It's either discontinued or it was discontinued but is now back in stock. But basically, good luck if you're trying to get it. So I am just going to rake it through my hair. Don't want to apply too much because I always find it works really well. It gives my hair lots of lovely slips, so it makes it easier to brush style with. But then I find sort of the next day it feels a bit sort of producty and heavy. So I've sort of covered my middle fingertip in this cream. So I'm going to rub it in my hands just to sort of warm it up. It then goes sort of white. I do sometimes emulsify it with water, but I haven't today. Literally every wash day is different. So you can see I'm focusing mostly on my mid-lengths and ends because, as I said, if I put it sort of too high up my hair and too much of it, it makes my hair feel quite sort of producty and weighed down, and we don't want weighed down curls. I don't know what's going on with my voice today, so sorry if I'm all croaky. So I've just got a little bit of sort of residue on my hands now, as well as some lovely loose hair. Don't panic too much if you lose quite a lot of hair on your wash day routine, by the way. The average human loses, I think it's about 100 hairs a day. So if you only wash your hair, say, once a week, so you only brush your hair on your wash day routine, for example, that's 700 hairs in one go. So obviously if it's excess shedding and you've got like bald spots and your hair's thinning, then obviously go and see a doctor. But if it's just a few loose hairs on your hands, don't panic too much. So I've raked through the Boots Curl Cream now, and what I'm going to do next is the Superdrug Extra Firm Hold Mousse. This is usually about £1.50 from Superdrug, obviously Superdrug mousse, and I get the Extra Firm Hold Mousse. It's got pretty much the same ingredients as the pink can, but it says it's a stronger hold, and I have a lot of hair, so that's why I go for the Extra Firm Hold stuff. So it says here it's got pro vitamin B5 in it, so it's good for your hair too. And I'm never 100% sure exactly how much mousse my hair needs, because apparently you're supposed to sort of take your section, slide your hair down, so by that logic my hair should only need like that much mousse per side. But I always find if I try that, then the top of my hair always goes a little bit fluffy and frizzy, so I generally just sort of do a decent sized blob, and I do try and focus it on one side at a time, but sometimes I find I just have so much that I need to sort of spread it on the other side. So I'm going to start again by focusing on my mid-lengths and ends, gently raking it through, getting it on my neck, and then once I've raked it through, then with the sort of residue on my hands, I will then gently work my way up to the top of my hair, because I do need some hold at my roots, because I find it helps encourage the curl pattern to go further up my head. So I'm sort of raking that through. You can generally tell when it's all in because your hair stops fizzing. And apparently the rule of thumb is if you twist your hair, I don't know if the camera will pick it up, you can just about see the product coming out. That's usually how you know you've got enough in your hair. But I have done it in the past where I've twisted it and it's sort of, you can see the mousse coming out, it's been a bit white. So I thought, oh, brilliant. But then the next day I've taken my hair out of my buff and pineapple and it's just stuck straight up and I've had to wash it the next day. So every day is an education when you've got curly hair. So I'm going to do the same again on the other side. Again, gently sort of praying, as like a mixture of praying hands, raking and glazing. So much terminology. And I'm just slowly working my way up to the top of my hair. Do you know what, should we do an experiment as well? I've seen on Instagram quite a lot called the bear claw, which is where you put your hand through your hair, then gently clench your fingers. And this is this is apparently meant to help encourage clumps, and I am going to brush style as well, so this may be a complete waste of time, but if you don't brush style, straight away that bear claw sort of method of raking does seem to work. There you go, fun little experiment there. Right, so I've put in the curl cream and the mousse. What I like to do as well is just take a tiny bit more. I say a tiny bit more, but it expands really well. And this is just going to go sort of not quite up to my roots, but just a little bit higher up for luck, basically, especially on the back of my head, because it always feels like no matter how much product I use, how much I sort of concentrate on the curl training, it just never works right the way up to my roots on the back of my head. I'm just going to take off more of these loose little hairs that have fallen out. Now, what I would normally do now is detangle my hair using just an old paddle brush that my mum gave me. But my hair doesn't feel too bad at the moment. It's still pretty wet, it's still got quite a lot of slip to it, so I'm just going to skip that stage because I don't want to sort of stretch out my hair too much. I may regret this. So now I'm going to show you guys how I brush style my hair. Again, this is something I do differently pretty much every time. I don't really have one sort of consistent wash day routine. I just try and do like the same basic things, as long as I use shampoo, detangle first and apply these products. The rest is pretty much do what you want. So I'm going to clip that out of the way, and I've got my lovely Denman D3 brush. It was £8.50 in Boots. So what I like to do is I sort of brush and pinch, almost the same sort of motion as straightening my hair. So I follow my fingers through, and then that helps the clumps form. And then I like to give it a little scrunch. I know you don't need to scrunch your hair. If you have curly hair, it will curl whether you scrunch it or not. But I think myself and quite a lot of other wavy girls do find that scrunching really helps those curls and waves pop a bit more. So that's what I like to do if I'm being lazy. I just sort of brush up and out for volume, pinching my hair to help the clumps. But I feel a bit fancy today, so I'm going to brush style. So I've got my Denman brush. I like to hold it upside down just because I find it's easier to use. And then I twist it around the brush, working my way down, and then give a little finger coil. And you can see there, hopefully, it gives me a nice sort of defined wavy curl. Doesn't always look like that, but again, that is the beauty of textured hair, is if it's not 100% uniform, you can get away with it. So again, I'm twirling the brush down as I go, catch the hair, and then give it a twist. And there's another one. And it's the back of my hair that is always sort of a bit hit and miss on whether it's going to work or not. Because my hair is so long, I can't quite reach all the way down. So I do just sort of do it the best as I can. So again, I've done basically the same thing. And you can see it has sort of worked. And I go on the other side, and this is the side as well that's always a bit sort of, never quite knows if it wants to cooperate or not. It must be a lefty thing. But what I like to do is just give it a few extra twirls just to sort of encourage it as best as it will cooperate. The good thing that I like about brush styling is it's a lot quicker than finger coiling. I do have a sort of comparison video if you guys want to go check it out. I can put a link in the description box on the sort of pros and cons of brush styling and finger coiling. I haven't quite decided which one I prefer yet. Now I'm just going to give my hair a little scrunch. Again, just to help encourage, try not to knock my mic off. It just helps encourage those curls to bounce that little bit better. And then for the sort of middle part of my hair, so I'm going to section off pretty much the crown of my head. I think that's what you call the very top bit. Squeaky clean there, I don't know if the mic picked it up. So twisting it up, out the way, nice and tightly. So with the sort of middle part of my hair, I like to try and brush up that little bit more before I start to brush style. And try and brush style it away from my scalp. Let's try that bit again. There we go. It does cooperate sometimes. When I first started looking into how to care for curly hair, it was like having a pet, I swear. You've got to work out what it needs, you've got to feed it, you've got to groom it. So again, I'm trying to keep it up from the scalp. That is the one downside I found to doing this brush styling and putting these big clumps in, is you do sometimes have to sacrifice a little bit of volume, but if your hair is not awkward, you should be able to separate out these big clumps once they're dry. So just make sure your hair's got no snags and tangles in, because I've said it several times now, the Denman brush is very unforgiving. If your hair has a snag in it, it will find it. So again, I'm trying to brush it up and out. You've got to put in the volume and movement that you want whilst your hair is wet, because that's how it's going to dry. You don't want to have flat, wet hair because it's going to dry flat then. And then just make sure that the back of my hair is done. Just a little bit. And I'm sort of just twisting the brush as I go down, catching my hair, and then giving it a quick twirl. And this just helps if you've got sort of hair that's more on the wavy side like me. I consider myself to have 2C, 3A hair, which is a mixture of loose, sort of defined waves and sort of quite loose big ringlets. I think they say it's sort of the size of like a sidewalk chalk. It's obviously an American thing, but the big chunky chalks that you use, that's about the diameter of a 3A curl. So now I'm going to clip this out of the way. When I'm doing the front part of my hair now, I need to be able to see what I'm doing. Now, for the crown of my hair, I initially brush it straight up, because again, you want to put the volume in whilst it's wet. Then I did just used to let it sort of do what it wants for this part, but because I'm trying to transition to slightly more of a centre parting, because side partings make you look old apparently, so I loosely section it, and then I split them into sort of decent size chunks, clumps, and then twirl the brush as I'm going down. Okay, what I might try is twirling it just that little bit higher up, so it goes right up to the root, just where it's the top layer of my hair, and it never cooperates as much. I think it's where this is more susceptible to environmental damage from like the sun and pollution and stuff. So that is why quite often you'll find, particularly in the transition phase, when you're sort of just starting out looking after your natural hair, it's not uncommon to have perfect curly hair underneath and a hot mess on top, because the top part is protecting the bottom part. And then I'm just again twirling it. Then the last part. This is always my favourite part, because I don't know if it's just where it's shorter so it springs up more, but this sort of front section of my hair always works so much better. So again, I'm brushing up and out, flipping my hairbrush upside down just because it's easier to manipulate. And then the same for these front parts. I had a bit of a 1/3 life crisis. I'm 30 in a few weeks. And for the last, must be sort of 14 years, I've just sort of chopped and changed between the same two styles. It's either been a side parting or a full fringe. So the other day I was sat watching the telly in the evening, and I suddenly, might be looking through Instagram or something, I suddenly just come into the bathroom, picked up my scissors and just sort of chopped curtain bangs. And it's just such a small change that I just felt so sort of different and so much more on trend. So I've brushed on my hair. You can see it's a little bit sort of flat on top. So if I can find it, I've got my bucket of gel. This was $5.95 I think, or $5.75 off Amazon. And there's a shop down the road from me that does free delivery as well. So I always try and look for the free delivery option. I do have a video reviewing this, so again I'll put a link to that down in the description box. I always say it sort of smells a little bit like apple-y almost. I love this gel. It's so sort of thick and gloopy. Now, I do have a hack for this, which is where normally I would give my hands a little spray with my spray bottle. I've left it upstairs. So I'm just going to hope for the best. So what I do initially is I just sort of flip all my hair to one side and then just give my hair a really, really good scrunch. And this makes my curls pop. Can you hear that scrunching? That squelching? That's how you know you've got enough product in your hair. Yeah, so it just makes my curls pop where it's maximum hold. It helps the curls last longer. I do find if I just use curl cream and mousse and then air dry my hair, I do get these lovely sort of waves and curls, but then the next day they sort of drop, so this just helps them last a little bit better. And then I do the same for the other side. What I also love about this gel is it has hydrolyzed wheat protein in it, so that's obviously a protein, and it acts as a film-forming humectant. It pulls in moisture from the air, but then forms a barrier over the hair's cuticle, and it just seals everything in. Because some humectants, like glycerine and stuff like that, it pulls the moisture in from the air, but then doesn't seal it. So that causes my hair to go really frizzy and fluffy. And this just sort of helps stop that. So you can see where I brush styled, I've got quite juicy clumps. Flip my head the right way around. I do sometimes like to go upside down as well for this bit. So I might do. Look at that. That is why I love curl training my hair. It just sort of makes my hair behave so much better. So I'm just going to give my hair a flip, so I might disappear, and then I'm going to give it another scrunch. And then gently sort of, I don't want to sort of fluff my hair and like run my hands through it, but I'm just going to very gently unstick my hair from the roots. And again, that's just another little tip. You can see already it's just got that little bit more volume. Now, the last part, before I get into the drying section of my routine, is I do a sort of wet plop buff hybrid thing using an old pyjama top. So again, I'm going to flip my head upside down, hope I don't disappear, and I'll show you guys what I mean. So I have my top upside down to begin with. I'm not mad. So I flip my head. Hope you guys can see me, just about. Doesn't help that I'm quite short. And then I put it over my head as if I'm putting it on. Make sure all my hair is sort of inside the neck of it. Then I'm going to slowly pull it back up over my head until it sort of meets the hairline. Take the sleeves and cross them over, and then tie it in a knot at the nape of my neck. That's the sort of plop side of it. Then I take the ends of the top, shake my hair down inside, twist them up, and then tie it in a knot. So I find that doing it like this, it helps my hair sort of soak up the hair products whilst keeping it off my face while I go and put some makeup on. And I find sometimes if I plop my hair, which is where you wrap it more tightly in the towel or top, whatever you choose to use, I just find it sort of squashes my hair down a little bit. So this is what I've started doing. I think I did it in the last video, but this just helps keep my hair off my face. So I'm going to go and put on some slap, and then I will be back to show you the next steps. So my hair has been wrapped up for about half an hour now, so I'm going to take it down and show you guys what I do next. So I like to give it a little shake just to make sure it's completely unstuck. You can see it's still got fairly juicy clumps. And what I like to do is using the same old pyjama top, microfiber towel, t-shirt, whatever you use to do the wet plop hybrid. I'm gonna flip my head similar to how I was applying the gel, flip my head side to side. That just helps with volume and movement. And I'm just going to very gently scrunch with this top. And this is called micro plopping. And if your hair doesn't get on with sort of a full plop, I find this is a good sort of compromise. And it just helps your curls spring back after being wrapped up. And it also squeezes out any of the extra moisture, so it does speed up drying time. There we go. So that is my hair. It's still damp, but it's not dripping wet. So now, depending on how much time I have in my routine, I will now either air dry my hair or diffuse. So for the purposes of speed for this video, I'm going to diffuse my hair. And I do prefer diffusing over air drying because I get a better cast from it, which is that hard crunchy shell, which really helps my curls last longer. And I find I get better volume because I'll show you guys in a sec. When I'm diffusing my hair, I'm constantly sort of moving my head, flipping my hair around, and it just sort of helps keep that movement and volume in there, which is the goal. So this is my hairdryer. I have had this, I'm going to say about 15, 16 years. I was quite young when I got it. This is actually my first ever hairdryer. This is the Gamma diffuser. I've actually borrowed this from my friend, and she now is going to want it back soon. So that's going to be interesting, trying to find a replacement. I love it because you can see it's massive. It's like nearly the size of my head, and I have a big head. So it's really good for long hair. So a couple of sort of tips and tricks whilst diffusing your hair. Like I said before, keep your head moving. That helps keep that volume and movement in. I find as well, start at the roots first, regardless of where you're moving your head. Keep the hairdryer focused at the top of your head first, even when you flip your head upside down. That helps, again, put the volume in, but it also minimises heat damage at the ends of your hair. So I like to diffuse until my roots are about 50% dry. I'll then move down to the mid-lengths of my hair because this is where it's thickest, and then finally do my ends last. So this is the same as my diffusing routine in the previous video, so I'm not going to bother filming it because it's just everything I've just explained, moving my head, focusing on the roots first, and then I will be back to show you guys the final step. Okay, so my hair is probably about 90% dry. My cast has started to form, so it's starting to feel quite sort of crunchy. So just to reiterate what I did, I flipped my head upside down, diffused at the roots first, so these are obviously a lot drier. Then I was just keeping my head moving, keeping the diffuser moving throughout my hair to keep as much volume in as possible. Then I slowly moved my way down to my mid-lengths, focused on that for a little bit, then did my ends. And then when my cast was starting to form, I switched the hairdryer to cool, and then that's when I did the scooping up into the hair, and that's just going to help my cast set whilst my hair is scrunched up, so I'm hoping that will add a little bit more bounce. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this Superdrug Imbue Curl Energizing Hydration Serum. I think it was about $7.99, and it comes as a sort of lightweight, milky sort of serum, and this is just going to sort of help finish my hair because it's very hydrating, very moisturizing, so it's going to help sort of keep in all that goodness that I've just spent the last hour nearly putting in my hair. Now, where my hair's quite fine, like it's thick but fine, if that makes sense, it does get weighed down quite easily. So I'm just going to take a little bit of water just to help sort of not quite dilute it. And then I'm going to gently do the praying hands method to help start breaking that cast. Now, I know they say you shouldn't break your cast until your hair is fully dry, but I like to do this. So I'm going to take another pump and then another spritz of water. I don't know if this counts as masters. I think that's how you pronounce it. Where you dry your hair till it's 50% dry, then add more product to sort of scrunch out the crunch. It's meant to be good for helping prevent frizz. So I'm wondering if that's what I'm doing here without realising it. So what I'm going to do now is just leave it, because I find the more I sort of touch my hair as it's drying, the frizzier it gets. I find I can't help sort of fluffing my hair up. But, so this is the results. I'll step a little bit closer. I just like to give it a very gentle fluff, because as I said, it's still not 100% dry, just to get as much of that precious volume and movement in my hair. So when I compare this new routine to my previous video, it doesn't feel like it looks that different. I'm going to step aside and put the comparison picture sort of here for this next bit, just while I'm sort of talking about these results. So yeah, as I said, it doesn't feel like it looks that different. I mean, obviously it is still ever so slightly damp, so I'll be able to see when it's completely dry. But the main difference in, like, that made me want to do an updated video is now I've got the hang of the Denman brush. It's so much quicker and I do get better results than if I didn't do the brush styling at all. So thank you guys so much for watching my updated routine. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what you thought, if there's anything you want to see, anything that you think I should do differently. As always, don't forget to hit like, subscribe and share, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye! The Denman brush is very unforgiving, and if your hair, wrong brush. I need to scratch my nose. Hay fever is so bad this year. Then what am I going to do? It's like shimmery almost. Didn't realise that. I'm trying to decide if I need to give my hair another blast.